Hey everyone, Sparrow here. In today's episode of True North Sanctuary, we're moving away from the Arctic wolf habitat and over to the other side of the Boreal Cafe to create our Arctic fox habitat. Now there are two buildings outlined here, but we are really only interested in the one on the left, as the other one will be another aviary. As mentioned last week, I'm hoping to do a big compilation video of the aviaries in the Arctic zone, so stay tuned for that, likely next week or the week after. As we get into today's build, if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for stopping by again. I hope your time with TNS has been worthwhile so far. And if you're new, hi, hello, happy to have you here and would love to have you stick around, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. Alright, enough of the formalities, let's get into the build. So the inspiration for this building was very much a log cabin, as you can probably tell from what is happening on screen right now. I was watching, who was it? Taves Plays, I think. And he did a beautiful Arctic fox habitat, and I noticed that a lot of the fences had this log cabin style. There were also fences with a bunch of stone and stuff like that, but I thought the logs worked a lot better for True North. So that was the inspiration for that. I'm imagining that this is one of the older buildings in the zoo, so it's okay if it's a little bit boring or not as modern as some of the others, like the reindeer building that is right next door, for example. The building is also meant to be climate controlled so that guests can see the Arctic foxes in more of a tundra biome rather than the taiga biome that we put the Arctic wolves in. Don't want every single habitat looking the same, so this one will be a little bit more snowy year round. In the back of the habitat, I decided to put this mesh so that the Arctic foxes could have some fresh air in here. I know it's climate controlled, so that's kind of like counterintuitive, but I just kind of felt bad that they only had an indoor enclosure, which more on that later. You'll probably have a good laugh about it actually, but for now we're adding this mesh to the back, and then we're going to outline the rest of the building with the log walls. At the front there will be a glass viewing area, so we're going to put some windows in here for our guests to get a good view of the Arctic fox. I totally forgot to put aside a wall, and so whenever I needed any pieces, I had to like go in, grab what I needed, delete what I didn't want, and then come back to what I was working on. So if you're working on a grid, make sure that you put aside a sample of each wall that you've created, because it will make your life so much easier afterwards. Also on me for using as many hinge pieces as I did for those nails in between the logs. Didn't have to do that, but I really did like that additional detail, so I'm hoping that you do as well, because it was really annoying to do, but it does look quite good in the end. I also used the portcullis banding, I think that's the name of the piece, as the edge of the windows, which normally I would use metal beams, but these pieces are nice because they already have those built-in rivets, and then you don't have to do it yourself. And I already had too many hinge pieces as it was. So that's a pro tip if you haven't used that piece before. Overall, as I was working on this building, I think maybe I just wasn't feeling it that day, but I really wanted to get a video up for you guys, so it was kind of a time crunch, which meant that I was really pushing myself to get this done, but I did not want to be building, honestly. So thanks YouTube for pushing me to build in planetzooo, and I'm glad that this all came together, but if this video seems a little bit all over the place, I was just not feeling building that day. And this was Friday. I'm recording on Saturday, you're watching this on Sunday. So this was very last minute, but it somehow came together. Now that the building has been outlined, we're going to add in the barriers and the keeper gate so that we can get our foxes in here and find out how much space they really have. So here we have them. Their names are Melly, short for marshmallow, and Bonhomme, which is French for snowman. I thought those were kind of cute. So with some very, very quick terrain painting, there's really not much going on in here, and the Arctic foxes like soil and rock primarily. We're going to move on to the walls, which are concrete. So I wanted to spice them up just a little bit with some rocks, using the faux rocks and then a few of the rock cladding pieces in the taiga biome, so that it's a little bit more texture and it doesn't look quite as boring. This doorway is I feel like I've created so many doorways for animals, and really I could probably go and copy the one from the red fox habitat, but that was at least 10 episodes ago. And I felt like I could do a better job, or maybe just do it faster this time around, and I was correct, which is very nice for me to see, and I'm sure nice for you guys to see watching this as well, because it means I'm getting better. And two, it just means that I can rebuild things that I've built in the past and make them better, and that's always a good thing. Like, which video was it? I think it was the quokkas in Sandstone Eco Zoo, where I was ready to rip my hair out because the doorway wasn't working. It was too small. And then the animal is really small, so you'd think it would fit through it. Like, this doorway, I guess, is still quite big in terms of scale, but later on when I'm placing foliage, I'll point it out. It looks so funny because the foxes look so small compared to, like, even the diamond leaf willow bush. The scaling in Planet Zoo is kind of ridiculous sometimes if you think about it, but the doorways finally worked out, and I really only spent about like 5 minutes on them, which was really nice, and then moved on into the interior portion here. So we really want to create a space, almost like a diorama, that the foxes can be in, and guests can see them jumping into the snow or just playing on the rocks, stuff like that. We're also going to add the cooling system in there to make sure that it looks like it's climate controlled. Don't think those are actually operational. I think I turned them off, but at least it looks like it's going to be cold in here. And then I also did sync the snow effects into them, so it looks like they're blowing snow every once in a while. It looks really cute. On the interior of the habitat, I was trying to find trees that could be shortened so that it didn't look completely barren in here. Not that there are very many trees in the tundra anyway, the permafrost makes sure of that, but I did end up using, I think it was the black spruce in the corner, and the rest of it is just gonna have to be bushes. So we have the manzanita bush, we have the diamond leaf willow, and then we have the white sage bush. Also added quite a few flowers in here just to liven up the space a little bit, including the Labrador tea, which more on that in the reindeer episode if you want to hear me nerd out about plants. So I don't normally use plants from outside of the general location the zoo is located in, but the dead tree, I believe it's a South American tree, just looked so good in this habitat that I ended up putting it in, and then just compensated by adding a lot of dead and fallen trees all around that were of the biome, just to make it a little bit more realistic. Yeah, just adding trees, stumps, rocks all around to help make the ground look less boring. I am using decals on the walls for that same purpose. I have seen people use decals on the ground before. I find it really difficult to do that, but so let me know if you have any tips, because I think it does make it look quite good. And then a short montage. We haven't had one of these in a while, so more decals on the walls. The backstage here, there's not a lot of room, so it's really just a bulletin board and some tools. We're going to add our cables for the doors for a little bit of added realism. And then we also have the cooling system ducts to make it look like they are functional, even though they're not. And we're going to use some lighting and grunge up the windows because this is supposed to be an old building, so that's a good way to do that. Finally, time to put a roof on this thing and then close off the ends with the log wall slopes, because I was not about to individually place horizontal logs to fill in that gap, but it worked out pretty well. For the remainder of the building, I decided to do a flat roof with some skylights in it to let natural light in. Not that the foxes would be getting too much natural light year-round, because currently it gets dark at like 5 p.m. So yeah, there's not a lot of sunlight year-round, but during the summer it would be quite good for them. On the edge here, just rotating it at a 45-degree angle to match the rotation of the wall. That wall will have a sign on it with the name of the building. I just haven't been able to think of a name. So if you have any ideas for what we can call this Arctic fox house den thing, that would be much appreciated. Please leave them in the comments below. And just as you thought the speed build was ending, I decided to add an outdoor run in the back of the building because I felt bad that the Arctic foxes were indoor only, and that just didn't sit right with me. So we're going to put one of those gates into the log wall in the back. Had to move a few rocks, move a few logs, but not too big of a deal. And then we're just going to make a narrow outdoor run with some mesh pieces. So using the concrete wall grid piece to streamline the process, I'm building one wall and then I can just copy that over using the grid piece. Same method for the roof, could have done it all at once, but oh well. I say streamline, but it is, I guess, like halfway streamlined because it could be more efficient, but we'll get there. Maybe not with True North Sanctuary, but maybe with a different zoo eventually. So as I finish up this outdoor run, I want to hear your thoughts in the comments about what you think is going to go in between the Arctic wolf and the Arctic fox habitat in that big empty space right behind the Boreal Cafe. I have some ideas, but I would love to hear from you what you think we could still fit into True North Sanctuary. And with some last details like this first Arctic zone banner, we are ready to take a tour. So here we are behind the Boreal Cafe. I will let you guys know that it took almost 3 minutes to load into True North Sanctuary, and there was a turtle on the loading screen, which I thought was really funny. So maybe it's a good thing that True North Sanctuary is slowly coming to an end, because I'm not sure how much more my computer can handle. But anyway, let's make our way over to the Arctic zone. So over here we have the Boreal Cafe and then the Bison and Pronghorn right behind that. Right in front of us is the reindeer building and the delivery route that vehicles can take to drop anything off if they need, obviously blocked off to visitors. And I did also expand the reindeer paddock a little bit just over here behind the building. So this corral back here can kind of be sectioned off from the rest of the habitat if necessary. But over here, we have our brand new Arctic fox habitat and also an empty aviary on the right. So next week, we'll find out what goes in there. Over here is the blank wall waiting for the building name, so let me know if you have any ideas about what we could call this building. Alright, here we go. Let's see if we can spot any Arctic foxes. Maybe not. This is a very classic zoo experience. Alright, let's see if we can see more from the other viewing window. Oh, yeah, there's one sleeping right there. It looks so small. Oh, and then there's snow blowing from our cooler up there. Still looks quite barren in here. I don't know what else to put in here to make it seem less like that, but it is supposed to be an old building, so I think it is slightly okay that it looks like that. Over here we have our keeper doors. Let's see if I can get in without landing on the roof. Nope. So not a lot going on in here. There's some tools on the wall, bulletin board. We have a little cage for our boxes, and then if we go through here, this door seems really short. We are inside the habitat. So the door is kind of screened off because of the black spruce here, and then the food tray is also a little bit screened off so that the foxes can have a little bit more privacy when they're eating. But overall, it is like quite spacious. It's not the biggest habitat, but they also don't need too much space. And then if we go through the little fox door here, we end up on the roof. So we have just this narrow outdoor run here. It's pretty screened off from viewers on that side, which is what we want, and then eventually it will probably be quite screened off on this side as well, with just glimpses into it. So let me know if you have any guesses of what is going into that big space over there. Thanks again for joining me. Melly and Bonhomme are getting along just great. Maybe we'll see some Arctic fox pups in the near future. Remember to like, and comment. It really helps me keep going with this series, and subscribe if you haven't already. The Arctic Zone is coming along very nicely, and I can't wait to see what next week brings. See you next time. Bye.